Solar power generator provides powerful backup insurance and peace of mind. Folks, I really believe in the solar power generators offered by Solutions from Science, one of my oldest sponsors. You can get more information at www.mysolarbackup.com. That's mysolarbackup.com. Remember, the government doesn't own the sun, so go to mysolarbackup.com or call 1-877-327-0365.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space.
Yeah, it's good to stop caring what people think about you and just tell the truth.
And when you're out there without care,
it's very empowering. And there's been a lot of corruption going on, like roaches behind the walls and under the floorboards for a long time. Now the roaches have gotten so arrogant that they're climbing on you at night when you're sleeping and biting you. You know, that'll actually happen with rats. If you don't get a rat problem under control, I've read the reports, they'll even come in and eat your baby. They'll kill your baby. They know how to get right on the throat at night and quickly chew to get the jugglers going and have a little meal. And that's what it's like. We have government rats and corruption climbing all over us, sitting in our chairs, biting at us. The rats have high-tech bullhorns telling us, lay down, GI, go along with what we say. You don't want to be called an extremist. This isn't a depression. Government health care, if you don't like it, you're a racist. They just throw these terms at us until we recognize that big megacorporations have bought off government and are basically eating us out of house and home. And it's time to kick the rats out. Now, we're going to Max Kaiser here in a moment. But it is very exciting news that many Democrats and Republicans are saying the Libya war is a mass murder and wrong. But a lot of them are saying, hey, we're for the war, but you got to get authorization from us. And so they're threatening, they're suing Obama. They're doing all these other things. They're threatening to cut the funding off in a vote as early as next week. And I heard clips on the news this morning. Again, I can listen to TV on my XM. Flipping through channels going, the president is not a king or a dictator. That's what we'll have if this continues. And they would cut from Republican to Democrat, from Democrat to Republican, saying the same thing. And I'm like, wow, for 3 months I've been saying Obama's becoming a dictator. And then I get these partisan articles written, Alex just doesn't like Obama because he's a Republican. Hey, moron, I was against all these wars with Bush. And just because he got congressional approval for the wars, he didn't get the full war powers resolution, and he lied about WMDs. So I'm against those wars too, okay? And see, that's what's beautiful about being constitutionalist. I'm for property rights. I'm for the Second Amendment. I'm for family rights. I'm for states' rights. I'm against the Patriot Act because it violates the Constitution. I'm against foreign entanglements. I'm against all these wars. See, I'm a constitutionalist. It's beautiful. I've read it. I love it. It makes sense. That's what I am. I've not seen a document better. I want freedom. We should legalize freedom, as Ron Paul and others have said. We got a T-shirt for a year. Legalize freedom with Ron Paul on it. Get it out there. The media is trying to put out this story now that Ron Paul can't win. Doesn't matter if he's been number 1, number 2, number 3 in different polls and winning most of the straw polls. They say he can't win. Just like Rick Perry said, it's the law, you must take Gardasil. Turned out there was no law. It was a hoax. They engage in these hoaxes telling us the moon is made of Velveeta cheese. And just because they say it doesn't mean it's true. And they just try to create a false reality of nothing but pure lies. Like the TSA saying, well, we're going to Max Kaiser, saying back in November, we're not going to pat 12-year-olds down anymore. And then they said it again in April. Now they said it again. And I was on Coast to Coast AM last night, and George was like, isn't this good news? And I said, well, yeah, hopefully they're being pressured to say this. Hopefully they'll actually do it. But it appears to just be a psych warfare tactic. By the way, we got reporters down at the Capitol into the next hour set to cover the vote and the committee hearings and everything. So we're going to have Aaron Dykes and pop in along with Rob Jacobson coming up. Now, we're going to the illustrious Max Kaiser for the rest of the hour, and 5 minutes in the next hour, then Bob Chapman joins us. I first want to just remind listeners we're running a special for only a week. Well, we have great films like The American Dream, Fighting the Lying Liars, One Stupid Lie at a Time. Great documentary cartoon that's perfect to expose how the banking cartel works. That's our bestseller right now. Very, very excited to have that film. You can get Big Brother, The Orwellian Nightmare Come True absolutely free for 1 week, and then we're ending the entire special for the Essential Alex Jones, my 5 most powerful and best-selling films, Obama Deception, Terror Storm, Endgame, Fall of the Republic, and Police State 4. You get these films for $29.95. That's already a super good deal. And get the free book on top of it, Infowars.com, to order that. Now I take you back to Paris, I believe. He's always jet-setting about, to the inventor of the virtual trading technology that's used on many markets today. He also is all over television channels, BBC, RT, Press TV, BBC Radio 5. And he joins us, MaxKaiser.com. Max, you just came back from Greece. Incredible live footage when you were on with us last week with the hundreds of thousands marching. You could hear the chanting through your hotel windows, 6 floors up. The people, I've seen polls, 98% against the, quote, banker ripoff austerity. But the gangsters that Goldman Sachs publicly put in the finance and prime ministership, they say, we don't care. We're going to kill your economy and turn everything over. And then as soon as they agree to that, now we're told the next dominoes are going to fall, and then the next and the next and the next, and it never fixes the problem because these programs aren't failing, are they, Max? They're designed, Max, to always consolidate more power, correct?
That's correct. And in the history of Greece, going back to 2001, it's a great encapsulation of everything that has happened over the past 10 to 15 years to destroy various economies. I should mention that when we were in Athens, we're making this film, and we got incredible footage, Alex, stuff that we're saving for the film. It should be out in the first 2 weeks of July. Stacey Herbert, my partner, she was really out in the front line, braving the tear gas, getting the footage. We got footage of basically cops dressed up like anarchists, agent provocateurs beating people up. And this is a recurring trend all over Europe, in Spain, in Greece, these provocateurs that are basically cops that are beating people up to try to make these otherwise peaceful demonstrations violent. We got great footage. So this film is going to be exciting. But the history of what's happened in Greece, if you go back to 2001, of course, when they entered the euro, it was because of their books were cooked. Goldman Sachs came in and they hid debt that Greece had on their books so they could be part of the euro. And it was at that moment that Greece was set up to fail. And ever since that moment, it's been a tragic story of a country being destroyed by outside bankers. So now you've got a situation where just last year, the country signed what's called the memorandum with what's called the Troika, which is the IMF, ECB, EU, which gives them rights to the assets that are owned by Greece completely outside of what is guaranteed in their constitution. So the IMF has gone completely around the Constitution, and they have committed this, and now they've got these lawsuits. You talk to Dr. Tobras, who's suing Goldman Sachs and the Greek government for doing things like signing the memorandum, and also they sold these credit default swaps back in 2009. Papandreou, the prime minister, sold the credit default swaps that were on the books of the postal service for $1.2 billion to his cronies, and then 6 months later they flipped them for $27 billion. Now, if they had that $20 billion right now, they wouldn't be in this hot water. So the Papandreou was caught red-handed committing an act of fraud, and every single step of the way, Goldman Sachs has been making huge fees.
Well, I mean, he was caught getting them into fraudulent debt, buying into the derivatives, and as you say, engaging in financial terrorism. He should be arrested immediately. And those prominent lawyers and members of parliament that you got on the show with us last week, they agreed with that. So where is all this headed? I mean, not just in Greece, but now. And we played a clip earlier from the EU Parliament where they were debating the fact that every time they bail something out, it only gets worse because it's designed to do that. So next it's Italy, we're told, then Portugal, and then into France and into England and into the U.S. I mean, do we just have to give everything to these crooks?
Yeah, they're bleeding the country. They're bleeding the country to death. And I also mentioned, when I was there, Steve Forbes was there with the International Chamber of Commerce. And they're already openly discussing carving up the country, selling the lottery, selling the ports, selling the infrastructure, selling the roads to outside bankers. And that was their intention all along. And in fact, the bankers use the assets of the country as collateral to line up more loans to take over the country. Remember, the IMF itself is bankrupt. The IMF has no money. The IMF is bankrupt. They had to use the collateral of Greece to line up the loans necessary to take the country over. It's like a leveraged buyout on Wall Street, except now instead of taking over another company using their company's assets for the collateral to get the money to buy it, they're using a country's assets to borrow the money to take it over. And every single step of the way, the Wall Street banks have made a profit. So the bonds, here's the interesting thing, and I want you to think about this for a second because it's a real insight into the psychosis that is driving Wall Street and the global economy. The European banks that own Greek bonds, of course, they're going to lose money. But the Wall Street banks who sold insurance on the bonds are going to lose more money. And who's one of the biggest losers? Of course, Goldman Sachs. So why would Goldman Sachs sell itself products that they themselves are going to lose billions of dollars on? Because they know that if they need to, they can go to Congress and get another bailout. And this is the psychosis of the Wall Street mentality. They simply rape and pillage, and whenever they get into trouble, they go to Congress and they get another bailout.
And they run around financing all these fake libertarians that give it a bad name and say it's free market when it's big mega banks and brokerage firms going and doing deals they know are going to go belly up, making money on the way up, then getting a bailout on the way down, and then telling us we've got to bail them out. It's the free market. The free market would not just be let them lose their you-know-whats, but also arrest them for fraud. I mean, if I lie on my taxes, which is paid to the private Federal Reserve, the income tax doesn't go to run the country, they will throw me in prison. If I was to lie about $5,000 and they caught me. These crooks have internal emails, as you know, Timberwolf and other things, calling their customers idiot, scum, and, we're going to sell them the bleeper, and ha, ha, ha. I mean, these are just criminals. And I know you worked with these people. We need to, quite frankly, get a 1776 situation through the courts going and haul them up and turn loose all the pot smokers out of prison and throw these people in jail. I mean, we got room for hundreds of thousands of these brokers that have engaged in crimes to slap them in prison.
Well, yeah, they are. Criminality has become America's #1 GDP booster. If it wasn't for fraud and financial crimes, America would have no GDP at all. They barely have a GDP now. But the entire country now is run on Ponzi schemes and frauds. They're, like, for example, the bailout of General Motors, that's turned out to be another huge Ponzi scheme and fraud. Obama points to that as a success story. Well, the company's already failing again. They're stuffing the pipeline with inventory that can't possibly be
No, you
sold.
said that a year ago, and it came out earlier in the week, headlines in the Wall Street Journal, that there was fraud in the numbers that the White House released. I mean, that's obvious, but just digressing for a moment, I want to get your take on the constitutional crisis. Some good things are now happening. I said it could be as early as next week. I have to correct myself. They voted about 30 minutes ago. House votes no on continuing Obama's war in Libya. That's Associated Press. Meanwhile, top Democrat representative, now this is from The Hill, says that Obama has become an absolute monarch. That's a quote, is, quote, becoming an absolute monarch, from Representative Gerald Nadler, the self-propelled German Zeppelin, said Congress must act to limit funding for military operations in Libya to order correct the trend. And the media is reporting this is a total rout for the warmonger-in-chief. What's happening with all these pro-UN globalist lovers suddenly turning against our Messiah, Lord Obama?
Well, because they don't like spending the money, but I don't think they're going to have any success overturning the Obama doctrine, because he's got Wall Street in his pocket, and he's got the hedge funds in his pocket. They're going to fund his re-election campaign, and in exchange...
Hey, hold on. Is that a French police car? Let me hear that.
Yeah, it sure is. This is genuine... streets of Paris.
Are they coming to arrest you? Sounds like they're outside your apartment or your house.
I think they're coming for donations for their annual Christmas party. Oh, there they go. Oh, they missed me this time.
The gendarmes, or what do you call them?
There, they're all gone. I chased them away.
Okay, Lord Kaiser. I mean, what do you mean? A week ago, people wouldn't have believed Congress would stand up to Obama. I mean, Congress has a 9% approval rating. The public's waking up. Yeah. I'm seeing a lot of positive things happen.
Well, no, they have this. They have the ability now to crash the market. 2 years ago, they